This is Bechor. I'm back with another video. Last time we all saw Rabbi Manis Friedman and myself getting into very philosophical debate. A lot of people loved it and they said we want to hear more. That is why I'm here with Dov Hikind.
Pleasure.
It's nice to see you.
Absolutely.
It's been a while, like we just said. I think I met you a few years ago at the Wieselden event that I hosted, and you've been an incredible friend ever since, and it's great for you to join us.
My pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
So obviously I always call you the legend, and I'm just being biased here, but for people that don't know your story, who you are, can you just tell us how you got involved in activism for the Jewish people?
Well, it goes back a long, long time ago. It goes back to the Soviet Jewry movement. You know, it's interesting, a lot of people, when you mention the Soviet Jewry movement, they're saying, what is that all about? Well, there was a time when 3 million Jews were literally being held prisoner in the USSR and were not free to practice their religion, could not leave. And I was involved in a movement called the Jewish Defense League with Rabbi Meir Kahana of blessed memory, to fight, to do whatever we could to help our brothers and sisters. Because what I learned was that, when our brothers and sisters are in trouble, you need to do whatever you can for them. Not just talk, not just care, but to do. And that's what JDL was all about. It was an activist organization. One of the first things you did is learn how to defend yourself through karate, learning even how to use a weapon. The concepts of Barzel, strength, Jewish pride, the things we're lacking today.
You're saying we're lacking
to a great extent,
yeah.
No question about it. That and so I started as a very, very young person. I was maybe 20 years old, maybe even younger, being involved constantly, daily, Soviet Jewry, Syrian Jewry, fighting for Syrian Jews to be able to leave. Most people today don't know what I'm talking about, but there was a time when Syrian Jews were prisoners in Syria. I was involved in that battle to help them go free, to be able to leave Soviet Jewry. Anti-Semitism. We could spend hours and hours and hours talking about very specific things, but those were some of the best days of my life, being involved. I was arrested many, many times. On behalf of our people.
On behalf of your people.
On behalf of our people. Chaining myself to the Soviet mission with many others. So many different things.
Where do you get the energy? Like where? Obviously, it's because you're fighting for the Jewish people, but a lot of people have that passion, but they don't know how to express it.
Well, first of all, this runs in my blood, and I'll tell you why. Because my mother and her family in 1944 were taken to Auschwitz on cattle cars. And when they got to Auschwitz, almost everybody in my mother's family, brothers, sisters, nephews, nieces, little children, the day they got to Auschwitz, they went straight to the gas chambers. And the only crime that they committed was the fact that they were Jews, period. That's it. That was the crime that they committed. So I grew up in a family where my mother, my father, had gone through hell on earth. We are pained by every single Jew, the casualties that have been suffered by the Jewish people since October 7th, let's say in particular, on a daily basis. Young, beautiful souls, soldiers, defending not just the people of Israel, but defending the Jewish people, dying. In war, you die. And the idea that the bottom line is, the question is always, what are we doing? What am I doing? Every single person. I remember Rabbi Kahana always used to say to us, it's not incumbent upon you to change the world. It's only incumbent upon you to do your part. And the rest you leave to Hashem. The rest, you believe that if everybody would do their part, everything would be wonderful, everything would be beautiful. So again, having my family go through what they went through, and I've spent my entire life torturing myself, reading Holocaust books, a new book, another book. What else can I possibly learn in 2024 about the Holocaust that I don't already know? But I continue to study and to try to understand how that could happen. And now we're watching this unfold in America. I mean, the ADL just came out with its latest numbers on incidents of anti-Semitism. It's mind-boggling. It's incomprehensible, the number of anti-Semitic acts that have happened over the past 12 months. 10,000. 10,000. Hundreds of incidents of assaults, people being assaulted, people being physically attacked, destruction of property, fear. I mean, you know as well as I do that people are afraid to go certain places. There are people taking off yarmulkes.
Exactly, and that's, I'm sorry to cut you off there, and something that, especially my generation, people, I go to the gym, right, and I'm not saying it to just, I wear, Israeli flag on my back. I wear my yarmulke, right? And people come to me like, don't wear that. There's so many people here that are, pro-Palestinian. Like, what are you doing? I said, I don't care. And it's not because I have like a suicide mission or anything. I'm just saying is, like you said, if you trust in Hashem, that you're on the right side, that is our job to be defenders of our faith, what is there to be scared of?
Also, look, our enemies, they want us to be scared.
Exactly.
They don't want us to visit Israel because it's not safe. They want us to be afraid. Look, they come to our communities. We don't go to their communities. They come to our communities. They don't have any problem. They're not afraid to go to Crown Heights or to Borough Park or to Williamsburg or to Long Island, right? I mean, or to any neighborhood in America within the heart of the Jewish community. Our enemies are organized. They're out in the streets every single day. I'm jealous. I am jealous of their dedication, their devotion. They're always out every single day. And we're not talking about a couple of people. We're not talking about 100 or 200. Sometimes in the thousands. And what do they display towards us? Hate. Pure, unadulterated hate.
So there's quite a few things that you touched on, Meir Kahan, your background. However, you just said about hate. And I think a lot of the times, in terms of the mainstream talking points, people say that anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitism. I don't think that people understand, this is something you could touch on right now, that you could, if you're against Israel, you're really against you and me. You're against the Jewish people. Because this is our land, and I think it's evident that whenever Hezbollah or Iran calls for an attack on Israel, they always say attack the local communities inside of America and France, because it's really sending a message that they don't care about Israel. What they care about is the destruction of the Jewish people.
It's pretty
hate.
Clear.
It's pure hatred
exactly.
towards Jews.
Look, the incidents,
nothing to do with Israel.
The incidents of anti-Semitism that have taken place in America have been directed towards anything that is Jewish.
Exactly.
Not Zionist. Oh, he's a Zionist. It doesn't matter if you're a Zionist. They don't ask you, by the way, are you Zionist? You Zionist?
You're a yarmulke, you're
you have a cafe, a restaurant that has an Israeli flag or a Star of David, which is a symbol for the Jewish people, right? It doesn't matter. I think we have learned that now. It is pretty darn clear. Those arguments of, oh, no, my best friends are Jews. I mean, Omar, Taleb, AOC, they will tell you that. Look, I have friends that are Jews. I go to a Pesach Seder. Okay? It's ridiculous. It is preposterous. Look, there is one Jewish state. And the people we're talking about, when they're out in the streets, right? It's about destroying the Jewish state. By the way, people have a right to protest. Nobody's arguing about that. You have a different point of view. You have every right to protest. But isn't it interesting that so many things are happening in the world, innocent people in different parts of the world that are murdered by their governments. How many people were murdered by Assad in Syria? Hundreds of thousands of civilians were murdered by Assad. How many people were murdered in Iran by their own government? Women who, because they were not wearing the right kind of head covering, right, were murdered. You can take case after case after case. But everybody that's out there, there's only one thing they direct their anger, their determination, and that is against the one Jewish state, period.
So do we have to, it's something that I hear often is people say about Assad, about Iran, and do you feel like we're reasoning with these individuals? Do you think that it's in our best interest to try to reason with them,
I think it's a waste of time. I think it's a waste of time.
Because they know that they don't
laugh
care
at us. They have goals. They are clear about it. You want to talk about Iran? Iran is very, very open about, in the old days, people would hide. Oh, I'm not an anti-Semite. Oh, no, they would defend themselves. Nobody wanted to be called an anti-Semite. I don't think anybody has that problem anymore these days. You have Iran that says openly, unequivocally, that their goal is the eradication of the state of Israel. And we know what that means. We know what that means. We know what Hezbollah and Hamas and the Houthis, if they could get their hands on Jews as they did on October 7th, let's not forget, October 7th, the Jews that were murdered, butchered, brutalized, raped, children burned alive, etc., etc., etc. The most horrible things committed against humanity. Things that we can't even talk about the details. As horrible as it is what we know, and pictures that we've seen and videos we've seen, it's worse than that. Trust me, it is worse than that. And these groups, again, can you imagine, God forbid, if they have the opportunity to do further damage? Look, you know that Hamas has said openly, they don't hide it, if we have a chance and we will do everything in the world to take advantage of opportunities, we will do another October 7th and another October 7th. We understand that. So what part of this don't people get? What part of this do they not understand? Look, there is so much that just makes no sense. The people that demonstrate in the streets, liberals, progressives, radicals, progressives, right? Gays for Palestine. Is that the most ridiculous, preposterous thing in the world? Gays for Hamas, gays for Iran. Do they know what these entities think of gay people and what they would do to a gay person within their environment? They would hang them in the street on a lamppost, right? So you see all this craziness. They enjoy the amazing freedom of speech that America offers, right? America, really the greatest country on the face of the earth, except for Israel. No question about it. America is an amazing... Everybody in the world wants to come to America. Nobody's trying to get into Iran. Nobody's trying to get into Russia or into China. Oh, I want to go to China. Oh, how do I get in and, live there? And so nobody, only America from all over the world. There's a reason for that. In spite of the fact that so many of these young people, educated, what a joke, right? They're educated. They're educated from the best universities, right?
So something that I did an interview with Charles Small. I don't know if he's director of Institute on Global Anti-Semitism, something along those lines, and he's had a report that he did that he found that $3 billion from Qatari money over the past, I think, 20 years has been funding schools at Columbia University, and obviously we saw what happened in Columbia, Texas A&M, all these so-called the prime institutions of our country. They're being funded by radical Islamists. So maybe
countries like Qatar, many of the countries in the Middle East who are not friends of America. I mean, if you go to a university, a Columbia or a Yale or Harvard, and you offer them $100 million,
take it.
What are you not going to do for $100 million? You will find excuses and do almost anything. You will betray, you will sell out people, and that's exactly what is going on. What is going on at universities, what we see today going on is the result of many, many years of this woke culture that exists, where if you have a point of view, the whole idea of university is to have discussion, to have debate, to have arguments, for you to listen to me and for me to listen to you. Everybody knows that is not
That is not the case.
That is not the way things
I can say from
function.
experience. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. Of course not.
Yeah.
Professors, liberal arts, they have their point of view, and they are right. If you don't believe me, ask them. They are always right about all the issues. It's so incredible. Little Israel, right? I mean, I say little Israel. I mean, if we had a map here right now, I showed it to everyone out there, you would have a hard time finding Israel on the map.
A lot of these people don't even know Israel exists. They're going to point to...
You can hardly find it. It's so small with all the Arab countries surrounding it. And it is a democracy. Not a perfect democracy, nor is any country a perfect democracy.
That's what actually I would want to talk about in a few minutes, about just Israeli democracy and Israel as a state itself. But again, talking about, I interviewed Rabbi Manis Friedman. He's the most subscribed rabbi on YouTube. And it got a lot of, I would say, engagement. And something that he said about is something that you're saying as a Jewish person, to speak words of truth. I don't know what that means to you, but in the college universities, there's like an overture of values, a fundamental ideology that we've lived for the past 2,000 years. Like, this is what a man is, this is what a woman is. So I think it's a broader context right now where the world just has confusion.
Upside down.
It's upside down. People have confusion.
The truth,
falsehood is becoming...
truth are lies. Lies are truth.
And that's exactly what he said.
And, it's just completely out of control, the situation, in terms of these crazy, And by the way, you want to be crazy? You want to have views that are like so off the charts? Fine, you're entitled to it. But the problem is? I need to accept your views, or I'm the bad guy.
Right. But do we need this is, a lot of people say that, and it's quite dangerous actually, because obviously I wasn't nowhere close born in the times of the Holocaust. I can't even imagine being born at that time. But I'm a student of history. I just remember how it slowly progressed, the pre-Holocaust eras, where people started to say, the Jews are the cause of all the problems. The Jews think that they're the supremacist race, right? But as Jews, right, we do have the Torah, right? God gave us the knowledge to speak the truth into this world. So as Jews, do we have a responsibility to educate non-Jews and other people on these issues? Like, as a position of authority, do I have to wait for Joe Biden or Kamala Harris to tell me as a Jew what is or should not be?
Oh, it is absolutely remarkable. I have never seen anything like it, where Israel is fighting since October 7th against those who committed the most dastardly acts imaginable, beyond imagination. And you have a war with Hamas and now with Hezbollah and so on. And this war is being micromanaged by Harris and Biden, literally. This war has been prolonged because of them. They are telling Israel what they can do and what they cannot do. And by the way, Israel, I think everybody knows, is quite capable of taking care of itself.
We just saw that.
And by the way, the United States does not have a very good record in winning wars. Okay? No. I mean, I think the last war they won was World War II. Okay? We've been involved in many conflicts, and things have not ended in a very good way. Not Iraq, not Afghanistan. You can go on and on and on. And this administration, through the State Department, Defense Department, White House, you always have these unnamed sources and everything that comes out undermines the democratically elected prime minister of the state of Israel.
So why do we allow, as Jews, especially, okay, maybe we don't have much influence in America from a policy perspective, as much as obviously people who live in Israel, but why do you think that the Israeli government allows America and other countries, and America, like you said, is this, in my opinion, the greatest nation in the world, second, obviously,
Right.
to Israel? As much as a great ally it is, why is it that we allow these countries to dictate not only our war efforts, but also, not too long ago, just a year ago, remember the judicial reforms thing
Right.
that happened, and why do we as Jews allow them to tell their own truth? Again, this is about truth. Why as Jews we're not confident to just say that we're the Jewish people, we live by the Torah. I understand America, you have the church and state is divided. Completely understand that, but in Israel. And this is something that Meir Kahan used to always say. He
Right.
wanted an Israel that was,
Right, absolutely.
maybe the way that he went about it may have been not like I agree with, I guess, a lot of his policy.
Right.
But maybe it was too soon, or I don't know.
Well, if you read Rabbi Kahana's books today, and I have
Oh, I'm
almost
sure you
all
do.
of them in my
I
library,
see over here, yeah.
I can tell you, you will think he's a prophet, that he was a prophet, that he was so on target with what he predicted and what he said, and the world that we live in. If you seek truth in this world for the Jewish people, you ain't going to get it. It's just not going to happen. And, we need to do what's right, as you pointed out. Yeah, look, ultimately, look, soldiers go to war, soldiers die, soldiers fight. That's the way it works. That's why Hashem wants it to be that way. But it's all, at the end of the day, it really is all about God. We can't win. It's over if Hashem is not part of the picture. I believe that with all my heart. We need to do. If we don't ask God to do. And every single person must look at themselves. Like, what have I done?
What have I done exactly?
What have I done in light of the fact that in Israel, look at the sacrifices of the people. We love Israel, right?
There's tzaddiks.
But so many Jews don't go to Israel when things are difficult. I was just there in the heart of Jerusalem in July and August, and there were hardly any tourists from America. And this is before the airline stopped flying. My wife and I were in the center of Jerusalem saying, where are the Jews? Why aren't they here? Do Jews only visit Israel when the sun is shining? And when things are difficult, we don't go? We wait for things to be better? But the people of Israel, they have to live with the reality of protecting the Jewish state for all the Jewish people everywhere, and the sacrifices that they are making. We're doing, a lot of good stuff is going on within the Jewish community. The Jewish community, the Jewish people are the most charitable people in the world. But there's so much more that we could do. We are not united. Right now in America, in my opinion, with 10,000 incidents of anti-Semitism in the past 12 months, there is no plan. There is all the Jewish organizations, and we have so many of them.
So many of them,
right?
yeah.
They're all over the place.
All over.
With big budgets, with all kinds of executive
Where's that money
directors.
going? I don't know where that money is
I have
going.
no idea. But after October 7th, there has to be a new approach, a different approach. But nothing has changed.
What is an approach that you would
Well,
recommend?
I think the approach has to be something that we and Americans Against Anti-Semitism are going to be talking about more and more. It's the idea of barzel, of strength. Jews not being afraid. And one of the ways, I can't just tell you, don't be afraid. Because it's a human emotion to be afraid in certain circumstances. We have to train people. We have to change the mindset. Our enemies know that we are afraid. We cancel events because they're going to demonstrate outside of them, right? So that mindset has to change. We have to be proud. Young Jewish people have to be proud. Nobody should take a mezuzah off their door. No one should take Eder to the yarmulke. You know what? People who don't wear yarmulkes, start wearing them. Say, I am a Jew, period.
Yeah.
I don't care how religious you are. That's not my business. That's not something that I look at you and say, oh, when someone says to me, I'm not that religious or I am religious, I don't know what that means. Because only God knows how religious
yeah,
you are,
yeah.
right? You could
And all
look
these
religious.
labels,
You could look
yeah,
religious
and not
and
be. Yeah.
be a horrible, horrible
Yeah.
person.
Like all these labels in Judaism,
Yeah,
it just
that's
it
terrible.
doesn't do a service
And
to
people
us.
being so judgmental.
Yeah.
Like when the Jewish people are united, we can't lose. If the Jewish people are divided, we're fighting with ourselves, and we are, and we do in Israel and here, then we're in trouble. And that's what Jewish history is all about. The destruction of the Second Temple was only because, not because people weren't studying Torah, not because people weren't religious enough, they were. It was because of sinat chinam, because of jealousy, because people undermining each other, people being judgmental. Those guys, forget it. That's not, we need to permit Hashem. Let God be the judge, not you. You do the best that you can. We need to respect each other. And unfortunately, that is not the case. The divisiveness within the Jewish community, to me, is the most dangerous thing in America and in Israel.
Devices on issues or
On issues. I mean, absolutely. Look, the Prime Minister of Israel, Bibi Netanyahu, has come to America on a number of occasions. I don't know if you've noticed, there's never been a rally in support of him in America. Now, you don't have to love Bibi Netanyahu. You may want him to not be the prime minister in the future, which, hey, there's going to be an election. Israel has elections. The people of Israel are going to decide who the prime minister is going to be. Right now, it's Bibi Netanyahu. He was elected. He has a majority in the Knesset, in the parliament. But there's such divisiveness about Bibi Netanyahu, about so many different things, the political parties in Israel, and it's all reflected in this country as well by the Jewish organizations. I mean, organizations like the ADL, I don't want to undermine anyone. They're all fine, even if they're not doing anything that really matters at the end of the day. But what's the plan? Can anyone tell me?
They have no plan.
Can anyone tell me, since October 7th, the world has changed.
Yeah.
Since October 7th, we have anti-Semitism. I thought it was bad when I met you. Okay, we talked about anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
I wish we could go back to that period.
Yeah, and it was not to us 2022.
And it was terrible.
Yeah,
it was terrible
at that time.
But compared to what we're faced today, people are afraid going into Manhattan. Make sure you don't have anything that they can identify you as being a Jew. Jews being physically assaulted. I mean, this is what's going on. Close to 200 cases of assault. And by the way, I mentioned 10,000 incidents of anti-Semitism. It may be double that or triple. Because for every case that is actually reported, there are 1 to 2 cases that are not reported. And everyone watching this show knows somebody that something happened in the street, you dirty Jew, you effing Jew, Hitler should have finished the job, or you were given a push, or you were given a smack, you dirty Jew, you effing Jew. And what did you do? Nothing. You went home, you had trouble sleeping that night, you were depressed, you told your wife, maybe you told your children, but you didn't even report it.
So you have to touch a Jew. You have to let them understand that they're a part of something bigger than themselves. And once they understand that there's something
important.
bigger,
Absolutely.
and they don't know. Listen, a lot of times, even if, like you said, you don't wear a yarmulke.
People are afraid. I'm going to report. They'll come out. I've dealt with this so many times over the last 10 years, even as an elected official, where Jews were assaulted, okay? Really, sometimes in a very bad way. You would have to convince that Jew to please press charges. They were afraid. They're going to come after me. I have a family. I'm afraid. So you are the victim, and now you're victimized even more because you're afraid to press charges. We need to address all this. And who's doing it? I mean, maybe I don't know. Maybe it's being kept top secret, but I have no idea who is addressing these issues that we're talking about. What is the plan? You can't just go on the same way. If things changed, if the world has changed, you've got to find different approaches. And as of now, it's the same, the same, the same. But the world is not the same.
Right. Just to finally kind of going into the final topic again about Israel and the government. You mentioned that Netanyahu, first of all, he's a patriot. You know, whether or not you agree with him, disagree with him, I could see both ways. This is somebody who's fought.
Oh, of course.
Right. I don't want to go into the entire segment.
He also sacrificed his brother, Bibi, who was killed at Entebbe.
And the Rebbe also blessed Bibi multiple times.
Right.
And he's the prime minister of Israel, and so we have to respect him as the prime minister.
There will be elections in the future.
If you guys don't,
and people will decide whoever they want.
Exactly. I think, for one, that especially what I've seen when he came to the UN, and it's something I've been advocating for. You said about a plan. When he came to the UN and he pulled up that map and he said, these are the nations that are partners with us, Saudi Arabia and all the nations.
Right.
He said these nations are blessed, and all the nations like Iran, Yemen.
Right, of course.
It stems from the Torah that God said that those who bless you will be blessed, and those who curse
will be cursed.
Will be cursed. So he's finally. This is the first time I'm hearing somebody his stature go in front of the UN and quote a pasuk in the Bible. Pasuk is a verse in the Bible. Is that maybe the plan?
I think,
is that the plan?
I think Bibi Netanyahu is one of the most brilliant speakers. I can't think of anyone else except going back before you were born. Somebody that I admired, not for his philosophy, but he was one of the great orators. That was a guy by the name of Abba Eban, who was the foreign minister. He was at the United Nations. He was Oxford English. He was, when I could listen to him and just like, it was unbelievable. But except for that, I can't think of anyone today. And, there are some good people like Bennett who speaks well, but no one puts it on like Bibi Netanyahu. Presenting the case for Israel at the United Nations, in the media, no one does it like him.
Right, because pretty much religion has become a taboo. It's all you can't talk about religion, and we're not talking about being an extremist here. We're just talking about fundamental. I think that's where I'm on college campuses. I think that's where the problem is. People are not having the right debate. People are trying to reason with the enemy, and they're trying to find excuses and just really just moan about, the anti-Semitism. But I think the way we win these debates, in my opinion, what have I seen is just by saying the truth about, like I said, where we come from, who we are, what our mission is. Like, a lot of times it's tick for tack, right? They say, proportionality. America's all about proportionality. You attack me, you destroy one base, and I have to destroy one base.
How ridiculous
it's ridiculous, right? But and our strategy should be, no, this is not a game here. We are the Jewish people. This is our land. We're not going to have, in my opinion, no two-state solution.
Right.
We have a right to not only defend ourselves, we're obligated to defend ourselves, and we must do whatever is required for us to win.
Yeah. Why
can't we say we can't say that? We can't say that.
Our Hizbara has not been fabulous. Our side, in terms of having cogent arguments, being very, very clear about the issues, we have justice on our side.
We do.
We have the arguments on our side.
Right.
Believe me, I wish I could debate on CNN and everywhere else. We really have the case to be made without any question.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, many times, many of us, we want to be politically correct. We don't want to upset anybody. Jews are such nice people. We don't want to upset the bad guys. We don't want to upset the evil people, and so on and so forth. You don't win if you are weak. When you show our enemies, especially in the Middle East, that you are weak, then you're dead. It's over. Yep. It's over for you. This is not about the average Americans. You think of making peace. You sit down at the table with coffee and cake and refreshments, and you have a conversation. No. The world of the Middle East and the culture of the Middle East, you are weak, you're dead. It's that simple.
And Dov, just to close off here, I'll never forget, there's something that I've never told you. You told me one day that I'm going to fight for the Jewish people until my very last breath. And I remember it just resonated with me, just how passionate you are, how much energy you have. can you just leave the people that are going to be watching this one kind of just final statement?
Yeah, look, we're living in difficult times and tremendous challenges for the Jewish people, no question about it. We also know that very often our worst enemies are Jews. Our worst enemies are people on college campuses who side with the enemy. You have Jewish organizations who side with the enemy. But we should never give up. I am a proud Jew. Being part of the Jewish people is the most beautiful thing in the world. And I would say to everyone out there, everyone needs to find their way to make a difference. And it's not about doing something on Monday. It's something that you have to do on Tuesday and Wednesday. And every single day, we are living in a very difficult period. I'm not asking any American Jew to sacrifice their sons for the war that the people of Israel are fighting for all the Jewish people. I'm not asking anyone to do that ultimate sacrifice. We don't have missiles falling in our communities. We don't have to run to shelters. We don't have to worry about my son. How is he? He's in the army. What's going on? I can't talk to him. Is he okay? We don't have to deal with any of that. Therefore, I am saying to everyone, we gotta do more than we are doing at the present time to support, defend the state of Israel and the Jewish people in America. We need to do a lot more than we are doing at the present time. Otherwise, I'll end this with a story of a woman who called me on my cell phone. I have no idea who this woman is. She's from Queens, New York. And this woman says to me, "When will we know it's time to leave?" This is what she wanted to know from me. Like, I should tell her, is someone going to announce, are there going to be bells? Okay, it's over, it's finished, things have gotten so bad. We better leave before it's too late. Because if you wait for the last minute, it's too late. I don't know. Was there ever a discussion in America about the future of Jews in America? 5 years ago, did anyone ever really discuss that there may not be a future for Jews in America? That has changed.
It's looking like it.
That has changed.
Yeah.
That has changed. And this woman wanted to know. She really, I couldn't believe it. I had to calm her down. Don't worry, it'll be okay, don't worry. She wanted to know, how is she going to know it's time to go?
Dov, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for everything that you do, because you are a leader and a future leader of the Jewish people. No question about it. Because I know your heart and I see how committed, devoted, and how much you care.